Hey guys, Andy with Precision here, and today we're going to talk about the Orange Vise Company and their awesome bench vise. They're not sponsoring the video. Trust me, I paid full price for this thing, and in my opinion, if you guys can afford it, it is worth every penny. If you guys are doing any sort of fine gunsmithing work, honestly, jewelers, like it's way overkill for 95% of what the world probably needs it for. It is not a cast iron vise. This is completely aluminum machined CNC mills that they use. Other than the actual hardware, there's obviously some steel screws, some inserts, stuff like that, but the actual body itself is aluminum. The jaws that it comes with are aluminum. The actual shaft, the screw that's inside of here, that's obviously hardened steel, and we'll get a little bit more into that. But again, this is not grandpa's vise that you're going to take and just beat the hell out of with a hammer, right? It's not meant for that. So can you? Possibly a little bit, but don't. Just to start this off, guys, the jaws themselves are 5 inches. The body back here is, hopefully get some good contrast on the video here, you're looking right around 5 inches wide. The overall depth on this, you're looking just over 17 and a quarter, just under 17 and a quarter to the face of the steel here. If we open this thing up, I mean, I'm using one finger, and it was tight on there when I loosened it up. You guys can tell how quiet this thing is. I mean, there's virtually no sound whatsoever. There are bearings in there, but it's super quiet, very smooth. Fully open right now, you're looking at right around 22 1/8. The handle, I believe, is also stainless steel. It is 9 3/8 long. Titanium nitride coated shaft and shaft housing on here. Yeah, comes greased. One thing, when we did open it up, it was covered in oil, and I'm sure that's by design, you know, just for protection. We didn't completely disassemble it, but I took quite a few parts off of here. The jaws, obviously the handle, the shaft and everything, pulled it all out, wiped it all down with acetone, tried to clean it up as much as possible, and that actually helped out quite a bit. Now, one thing, let's just say at full jaw opening here, let's just say 5 inches, right, which is where we're at here, just under 5 inches, I should say, is not wide enough. What you can actually do, and I do not have an Allen head big enough for this, it's actually on the way, but you can take this Allen head out, lift up this entire vise body, or actually slide it out, I should say. Hopefully you guys can see the dovetail that is right here. Pull this out, and then you can actually attach it back here. And so in that situation, I want to say it gives you about 12 inches. So if we have the 5, and then if we were to do center to center, it gives you, I believe, about another 7.5 inches. So yeah, you're up to 12.5 inches worth of total jaw opening on here. Now, of course, that's once you get to this piece back here, you're not going to have the full depth, but depending on what you're trying to do, it could be beneficial. It's definitely something that most other vices cannot. As I said, almost completely aluminum construction. The jaws that come with it from the factory are aluminum as well. They do have steel jaws available if you want to do that. I actually need to order some of those myself. I didn't think I would need them, but after doing a couple projects, I feel like it could definitely be beneficial. With that, to do any adjustments on this whole thing can rotate a little bit. So if you guys look, there is a screw on this side, and then if we come over to the other side, you guys can see there's also another screw here. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen these up and show you what the bottom of this looks like. All right, guys, so one of the things that is steel on this is this pivoting mounting lug. It is hardened steel. Now, the way that it actually indexes into the base plate here, which the base plate is what is actually permanently affixed to the bench. You can get just the base plate individually, so you could buy just one kit, have a different base out in the garage, one down here, several different benches around the shop, and then all you have to do is take your 1/4" Allen key here, loosen it up, and then pull the actual vise body off. Now the way that it actually attaches is these screws here, you guys can see, are actually domed on the inside of this hole. Now all I have to do is loosen this up, and you guys can see that obviously retracts. Those domed screws are actually what indexes into that lug. Now because they're domed and because this hourglass shape on here, all I have to do to rotate this is loosen these up a little bit, and then I can rotate it wherever I want. Don't have to worry about this thing falling out, right? All I'm doing at that point is I'm just trying to loosen it up just a tad, just sort of trying to reduce some of that friction. And it's not gonna, you know, be front heavy and fall out or anything like that. So now to actually put this in here, all I gotta do is lift this thing up. Now, the actual body itself, if I had to guess, is probably a good 45 pounds or so. I'm just gonna drop that in there. Now I did just put a very thin layer of CLP just in between here, just so it spins a little bit easier. I don't have to worry about anything getting scratched up or anything like that. I'm just gonna snug that one down, snug this one down also. And now this vise is not going anywhere. With that, now let's say I need to rotate it. All I gotta do is take my 1/4", loosen that up just a bit. I usually back out about a full turn, and then I can rotate this, snug it back down, and now I'm ready to go back to work. So again, super easy. The one thing, I know a lot of other vices that are out there don't necessarily require tools to rotate, but this one does. It's really not that big of a deal. I've usually got my Allen keys out for one reason or another anyway. Even if I don't, they're right here. Now, another really interesting thing about this vise is that I can actually rotate these jaws independently. When I will ever want to do that, I honestly do not know. I couldn't tell you. However, the ability to do it is, you know, you're inevitably going to find something, you know, it may benefit you. So it's just nice to know that you have that flexibility. So in order to rotate this jaw head independently, what we have to do is actually loosen up these screws. It's actually a 5/16 Allen head, so you would just loosen this up. That essentially releases the clamping pressure on the shaft, and then this thing rotates 360 degrees. I'm not going to do it on mine. I've got these set so that they're perfectly flush and parallel with each other. But again, the opportunity is there. So another way that we can rotate this is using again another 1/4" hex key here. What we can do is actually loosen these up, and I've already done that off camera. But what that does is that actually allows this entire barrel to rotate, which then obviously both sides go at the same time. So I'm gonna have to level this back up, obviously just for showing you guys, but not a huge deal. Super easy to do. Once this is leveled out, you guys can tell it's obviously staying there on its own. I just got to tighten these back down, and it's gonna stay right where I put it. So again, just another piece of versatility that this vise has that others don't necessarily have. Now guys, here's what I feel is one of the coolest parts about this. These are actually very easy to replace, these jaws. Now all I got to use is a 5/32 Allen key here. All I'm going to do is just loosen these up with the short face, the short arm, and then you guys can see as I raise these up, this is actually releasing the jaw itself, and then I can just kind of rock that out and lift it up. Now hopefully you guys can see this also. These are just dovetailed in here. Now there is a dovetail interface that these lock into, and when we lower these down, you guys can obviously see this piece here is actually clamping onto that dovetail. So again, it's a very strong connection. Both of these can actually come out the exact same way. Takes me just a few seconds to do that. There we go. Now on the back, there is actually a little steel indexing pin on these, basically so that they don't slide side to side, and it's a consistent installation every time. Now that pin, you guys can see, is actually offset onto one side. What that allows me to do is I can actually flip this block over and get a little bit taller face on here if I needed to for whatever reason. And that screw, or I'm sorry, that pin actually indexes into either this slot or this slot. Hopefully got enough contrast there where you guys can see that. And that allows me to either install the vise up as such, or I can flip it around and have it so that the top of the jaw is actually level or very close to the top of the actual vise itself. All right, guys, so as you guys have seen so far, this is how the vise comes from Orange, right? It's, again, an excellent vise as it stands. The jaws as it comes are aluminum. You can get steel, and I mean, the thing is rock solid. I have zero intention of ever having to replace this thing, short of me damaging it somehow. I honestly don't know how I'm ever going to. But with that being said, there is one upgrade that I highly recommend anybody that's doing gunsmithing seriously consider. If you're already buying this vise, as it comes delivered to my house, it was $16.20, $16.30, something like that, including shipping, tax, all that kind of fun stuff. And so this, again, this is not a cheap vise. However, it is, knock on wood, the last vise I will ever have to buy. So again, highly recommend it. However, the one upgrade would be these jaws from Area 419. Again, these guys are not paying me. I paid full price. I want to say these were like $275-ish, I think, plus shipping. So I think they actually have free shipping on it now that I think about it. But these jaws are specific for gunsmithing. Area 419, if you guys never heard of them, highly recommend them. These are the first things I actually bought from them, and I will definitely be returning. Extremely high quality stuff. They really think about everything they put into these, and I can't say enough good stuff about them. So anyway, we're going to get these loaded up real quick, and I'll kind of walk you guys through what we're seeing here. Now, these are also aluminum. They are, I believe, just gold anodized. I personally think they look really good up against the black, and somewhat matches the titanium nitride on the shaft housing down here. But you know, even if it doesn't match it perfectly, it's still close enough, and they look great. These also, if you guys didn't notice, do have the indexing pin on the back. Now, let's say I've got any firearm, right? AR, whatever. One of the most common mounting platforms on firearms today is going to be the Picatinny Rail, right? So if we close this thing down, you guys can see they actually built in a Picatinny rail right there, right? So I can actually take my receiver, flip it upside down, mount it with my Picatinny rail. If I have an AR with a Picatinny mount on the bottom, say for a bipod or vertical foregrip or something, I can mount it in here and work on the gun as it is obviously being held out over the side, cantilevered out. Now, there is also another notch up here. If you guys are not aware, Arca Lock is really starting to take over, and I'm actually, I don't have one yet, but everything I've read about it tells me that they're definitely going to be just as prevalent as the Picatinny Rail over time. Extremely stable. It's basically an 1.5 inch wide dovetail mount that is going on quite a few things. Camera guys have used them for years, if not decades. Really Right Stuff apparently is kind of the go-to for the true standard that everybody's going to. Say your stock chassis, whatever, that has the Arca Lock or Arca Rail mount in there, clamp it in here. 419 actually has what they call their Arca Lock, which I really like what they're coming out with. I'm going to be actually putting that onto one of my rifles here pretty soon. Can mount either of those in this top rail without an issue. They also have a VGroove down here for really anything that you'd want to mount into a VGroove. If we look from the top, since I had actually adjusted this a little bit for you guys, I do need to realign it just so that these semicircles here line up a little bit more. Say I got a barrel or something I need to stick up there, I can do that. Or working on a bolt face, I have the ability to actually mount that vertically and have plenty of gripping surface on that cylindrical piece. So what these are for, I honestly do not know. Those set screws, I'm assuming so that you could maybe attach a, some sort of soft face on it if you want to go with nylon or leather or something like that. But again, I don't plan on taking those out anytime soon. I don't really have a need for it. These jaws stay in this vise 95% of the time and do just about everything I want. So another thing that's down here is these little dovetails. Now, before I get into what those work with, I actually want to show you guys, they were extremely smart when they did this. They used this entire vertical face as a back support for this. And the reason for that is you have these nifty little guys. Now these inserts, you have 4 sets here. 1 1/4, 1.2, 1.0, and just generic V block that you can throw in here. So let's just take the 1 1/4s out. Now, just the mount for these is aluminum. Okay, it's not extruded, it is CNC machined aluminum, has detents. The back of these actually have a little ball detent. And the quality on these, I actually thought about designing and making my own set of jaws. You can't come close when it comes to the quality and the amount of time and effort they put into designing these things. It's a no-brainer. So anyway, what we're going to do is literally take that in, ball detent goes in, and then you guys heard that little click. So there's actually 3 locations on either side, and all we got to do is take the next one here, slide it in. Actually, I need to back this out just a little bit. Push that in, 1 finger, click, and they are now both perfectly indexed. You have a perfect 1.25 0 diameter hole for a barrel. So the guys at 419 are shooters, so they're designing for shooters by shooters, and they're trying to solve problems that they have. Highly recommend, just go check out their YouTube channel, guys. They are, I can't say enough good things about them. So anyway, with that being said, that is the Orange Vise Company bench vise. Again, highly recommended if you guys have the means to pick one up. And just want to show you guys, this is probably the one big investment that I've made, obviously other than the firearms, into everything. And yeah, like I said, it's hopefully going to last me a very, very long time. I do not intend on ever having to replace this vise. With that, again, as always, guys, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them below. Like, share, subscribe. Definitely appreciate it. Doesn't cost you guys anything, and it really helps us out. So anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for checking it out.